receive a courtesy you receive a courtesy copy from the Office of Zoning and Development. If the property is Beltline, MRC, NC, and LW, there is a requirement that the applicant send a postal, a certified copy to the NPU contact.
And you would send that to, I guess, the president of the NPU or
Whomever is listed as the zoning contact.
as a zoning contact? Okay, great. And the other question I had, and is there a section under 16 that talks about conditions specifically?
There is not, no.
Okay,
There's
okay.
no, there are no codified regulations with regard to conditions. It is just understood that any conditions that the NPU imposes or the staff imposes are meant to mitigate any unforeseen circumstances that may impair the community based upon this new zoning. Um, um, and that's really a case by case basis. In most districts now, there are already architectural design guidelines that have already been codified, and the developer will have to do those. There are usually, I have seen conditions here lately related to mitigating any impacts with regard to traffic, like determining where ingress and where how you come in and go out of the property. That really can't be codified because you don't know the development until it actually occurs. And so that's why conditions are added at that time.
Thank you.
Mhm. All right, floor's open for any questions. Everybody understood 1000%. You don't have any questions? Nothing about anything that you have heard or that you have interest in? Nothing? Because it's
Girl,
just
that's a
cool.
lot. It was a lot.
Okay,
All
here we
the
go. Come on,
codes.
Mrs. Scafidi. Come on, Mrs. Scafidi. One more question.
You know me, right? Okay. So could you just reiterate on the responsibility? You clarified that you need to send a certified copy. And what does that exactly need to say? Does it need to have some uh, like a site plan, or what does that need to include when you send that to the NPU when your SAP is?
So as an applicant, the applicant is responsible for submitting the entire package that they would submit to the Office of Zoning and Development. And I am breaking my own rule that I just told you all about. So I am going to go to the code and read to you exactly what someone should be submitting. Okay, here we go. Can everyone see that? Or do I need to make it bigger?
I don't think anything changed on the screen yet.
I'm not seeing anything new.
All right, everyone sees the code?
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yes? Everybody sees the code? Okay.
Yes, we do.
Except as provided below, no building permit in any mixed commercial district shall be issued unless and until it has been approved through the issuance of a special administrative permit under the requirements so specified in section 1625.004, as meeting applicable requirements and intent as set forth for the district. A SAP application, this is prior to COVID when we went virtual, an SAP application, 7 copies of each site plan, landscape plan, and elevation drawings of each exterior facade shall be submitted as applicable and approved by the director of the Bureau of Planning prior to the issuance of a building permit, with an 8th copy to be mailed concurrently to the appropriate NPU chair or his or her designee for information purposes. So the application package that's submitted to the Office of Zoning and Development, landscape elevations for each facade, a copy of the site plan, and the application itself. That's the complete package that comes to us in the Office of Zoning and Development and then is given to a planner to review. A package of that same amount is then sent to the NPU concurrently. That answer your question, Mr. Scavidi?
Yeah, just so that should be when you make your application for SAP, you should also include a copy, certified copy sent to the zoning person in that NPU.
Yes,
Is
for
that
properties that are zoned MRC.
MRC? And are those drawings need to be stamped and sealed, ready for construction?
That is absolutely correct. It is the same exact package you submit to the office.
Well, I've got something to do.
Okay. Ms. Leith.
Yes, I want to ask a question about a presentation. Now, when the builder comes to the zoning request for change and the community NPU has decided to support it, but staff does not support it, how do we know in advance that's going to happen so we know to appeal it, or can we appeal it after that's been said? Because we weren't aware of that process.
So that's 2 different things.
Okay.
Okay. A zoning or rezoning application is not approved by staff. It is only a recommendation for either body, for a recommendation to zoning review board or a recommendation to the Board of Zoning Adjustment. With regard to a zoning application, it is city council that approves or denies an application. So NPU can approve, staff can recommend denial, ZRB can recommend denial, but city council can approve.
Oh, okay.
With regard to a BZA application, NPU can approve, staff can deny, BZA can approve. Whoever the body is that approves the application is the body that you would be appealing the application or appealing the decision. So if you disagree with the decision of city council, that's the appealable thing. If you disagree with the decision of the BZA, that's what you are appealing. With regard to staff appeals, if I make a decision, let's say, so we were appealed, the office was, I'm sure everyone has heard about the gas station at 2775 Campbellton Road. The decision was that a gas station or a service station was permitted in that location because it did not violate the 1,500-foot distance requirement. NPUR disagreed with that decision and appealed that decision of an administrative official, which was myself. That then went to the BZA for the BZA to decide.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Ross.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Ross?
Yes, going back to the BZA consent agenda. If the individual wanted to have something pulled from the consent agenda, are they required to give a reason for it, or
They
can
are
they
not.
just request it?
They are not.
Okay,
They can just request.
okay, very good. And then one other question: if the decision from the BZA is appealed, were you saying it ends up in Superior Court? Is that where it goes?
Yes. The BZA is quasi judicial and their decision is final. And just like city
Right.
council's decision is final or final for legislative process, those decisions are appealed to Superior Court.
Okay. Can I have one more bite of the apple?
Yes, sir.
Okay, special administrative permits, 21 days. When the NPUs meet every 30 days. So it sounds like to properly address that, the NPU will sometimes have to call a special meeting in order to review a special administrative permit. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. If you all are so inclined to provide comment on that SAP. I don't know how frequently how frequently does your
Well, yeah,
zoning committee,
if it's gonna impact the,
how frequently does your zoning committee meet?
once a month,
I see. Mhm.
right? So that's the zoning committee meeting, that's the executive board meeting, that's the NPU meeting, and then now there's the special administrative permit meeting.
That's correct. Mhm. Special administrative permit
That's-
hearings are the fourth Thursday of every month.
I object.
What do you object to, Mr. Ross?
It's putting the load of another meeting on the NPUs. I mean, if you could extend that SAP to 30 days, then the NPU could have a chance to review it in their regular monthly meetings.
Okay, we will consider that for the rewrite.
Please, please. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's it, Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Miss Barbie?
Yeah, I don't know if you answered this question already. I wanted to know if there's a square footage minimum for building a home in the city of Atlanta.
There is not.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Ms. Brooks?
Okay, well, the Beltline, looking at the special administrative permit, so the Beltline has all sorts of protections. And I look at the neighborhood I live in here in downtown, and I'm wondering if we can have, now that there's more buildings converting, and it's becoming more, or hopefully becoming more residential, is there something that citizens should do proactively, or is your department being proactive in terms of when there's converting commercial buildings that are adjacent to residential towers? Are they, just because historically it's been permitted as a commercial building and as a data center, but I don't really want a data center next door to me. So the Beltline is putting things in place to protect the Beltline overlay. Will there be comparable protections in downtown?
There will be comparable protections citywide. There are specific things that you need to review on Monday when the draft of the use section comes out of the new code. And there are provisions that there may be provisions that speak to those two things that you have just stated. Any other questions? Okay, you all have me till 8 o'clock, so somebody ought to have a question.
Oh, I have a question. I put it in the chat. I'm just trying to get the acronyms together. So you're saying BZA,
Mhm.
and then there's also a ZRB. Okay. So what's the full definition of BZA?
Board of Zoning Adjustment,
And then the ZRB is,
Zoning Review Board.
and okay.
Hey, Ms. Holmes?
Mr. Morales, yes, sir.
How you doing? Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for your service, boss lady. Hey, question, what is, do we have, I've been hearing some garbage on the street, like you said earlier, about there's some, is there some conversation about increasing ADU allowance size from 750?
That question was asked when we did the Idea Labs. It was received quite well. We got a lot of comments of support. And so in the new code, there may be a provision that increases the size.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Ms. Leaf?
Oh, I forgot my question. I'll put my hand up again because I have to think.
Okay, Mr. Ross?
Right. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Back to the special administrative permit. If it is denied, what is the, what further, steps can the developer take?
A
to get it
special administrative
approved?
permit is not ever denied. The applicant is always given the opportunity to correct any of the comments that they have received from staff or the community. And should they choose not to amend their application any further, then staff will not approve the application, but we never deny an SAP.
So they won't approve.
And you cannot, if
deny
you
it.
don't have an approval, then you cannot get a building permit.
So the outcome is the same as a denial, correct? Is that what I'm hearing?
Effectively, yes, but we don't have a denial stamp.
Okay.
But an applicant always wants to get to building, so they will always figure out how to meet the requirements that we have, that the zoning code establishes and that we enforce.
Okay. Okay, and then go back to the gas station at 2775 Campbellton. Was that approved under the zoning conditions?
Yes, that gas station is now is approved and it is constructed.
Even though MPUR claimed that it violated the overlay.
The BZA ruled that my decision was not arbitrary or capricious, and that the location that they said was a service station was not a service station according to our definition.
So you were the hearing officer for that one?
I was not. The Board of Zoning Adjustment heard the application.
But you made the, but you doubled down on the decision.
What do you mean?
You said that the board decided that your decision.
Right. So so when someone appeals me, I have to put forward a brief, like someone represents me. The person who represented me interviewed me, got my information, stated that before the Board of Zoning Adjustment. The MPU had also stated something before the BZA. The BZA heard all of that and said that what I decided was not arbitrary or capricious.
Okay, and that's important because they're going before the LRB and their argument is that it's improper, that it's not zoned for that.
So LRB doesn't hear zoning. LRB only hears alcohol.
Exactly, and they're saying don't deny the alcohol because they're not in compliance with the zoning because of the overlay.
But the gas station doesn't have anything to do with the alcohol. The alcohol is an additional request, and an additional request not under zoning.
I understand that, but I'm saying that that's the argument that they're bringing before the LRB.
Oh, I get it now. Okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Leaf?
Yes, I remember now. The signs that you put up, at one time you gave us the meaning of each one, the colors and the letters. And I tried to find that and I couldn't find it on the website. Where would I find that?
We don't have the color, we don't have the meanings of the colors of the signs on the web.
Okay.
I think maybe one time we may have had it, but we've tried to clean the web up so much that I think we've taken out some pertinent information and not whatever. Okay, so the green sign with the big Z on it, that is an application that is going before the zoning review board. It's a kind of a muted lime green sign, big Z's on it, and that's either a special use permit or a rezoning request, or it's a text amendment. There are green signs of the same color with a U on it. That's a special use permit application.
Okay,
The kind of a blue sign, kind of the same color as Mr. Scaffidi's shirt is blue. That's a BZA application. Is either for a variance or for an appeal or for a special exception. There is a red sign with a big A on it. Those are posted for applications for the historic district for a certificate of appropriateness. There is an orange sign with an S on it that is for subdivision applications. There is a now the people in the arborist division have lots of colors. They have orange, white, and yellow. I have no idea what those signs mean, but they all have T's on them. Something about taking down trees, something about the board. I'm just sorry, I cannot tell you what those signs mean, but I do know that their colors are orange, red, orange, white, and yellow. And that's the different stages of tree removal.
All right.
Mr. Antoine?
Yes, the acronyms that you were telling Ms. Brooks earlier, and while the video recording was off, is there like a glossary out there somewhere? Or that's just
There is no glossary today. There is a list that I have compiled that I give to all of my urban planner ones. I'm more than happy to share that with Samantha, and she can send it to you when I send you the presentation from tonight.
sounds good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just say, Mr. Antoine, thank you for not asking me to repeat what all those acronyms are based on what I've remembered from what she said.
Is that it for questions? Oh, no, we have someone
Mr.
else.
Scafidi?
This is probably a simpleton type question, but can you just explain the correlation between CDP and zoning?
Sure, I'll be happy to. The comprehensive development plan is the policy document that governs the city. It is the document by which the vision, long-term vision of the city is iterated. It has policies related to housing, policies related to land use, policies related to transportation, policies related to, I'm missing something, health and food. All of the big policy visionary goals that we want to accomplish here in the city of Atlanta are all found in the comprehensive development plan. As we drill down to how that affects the NPUs, it is how you tell us how you want the city to develop over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. We happen to update our CDP every 5 years, but they're really long range plans that pretty much talk about how the city is to develop. We have an emphasis on creating more urban ag or urban agriculture, or making sure that there are no food deserts. All those kinds of big policy ideas are in the comprehensive development plan. The second piece is the zoning ordinance. The zoning ordinance is the regulatory document to get all of those visions onto the land. So with your land use maps in your specific NPUs, you tell us where you want high density residential. You tell us where you want mixed use residential. You tell us where you want single family residential, right? All those things you tell us in your land use map, and then the zoning ordinance then brings those things to life.
Is there Is there a CDP plan you can access online?
The current CDP is online. Plan A 2021 is online, and I think you can access it by going to plans and studies from the department's webpage, as well as there is a link to the current update that is underway, also called Plan A, because there is no Plan B. And it has all of the dates for the next phase that will start on May 22nd.
Yeah, that actually, off of one final little quick snippet is I know y'all are having these meetings on Plan A and meeting with the communities, all the different NPUs to get their feedback. What do you have any idea like time frame when you would love to see this thing come to fruition and be voted in and y'all have
I believe the timeline for the land use element is the end of this year for the CDP, and the other elements next year for adoption. With regard to the zoning ordinance rewrite, our first module is on Monday, May 20th at 6:30 at Habitat for Humanity. We encourage you to sign up or come in person to Habitat to hear the discussion about the first module, which is all about the uses that the zoning code will allow, right? Uses and form will be discussed on Monday night. We will have 2 other modules throughout the year. The second module release will be on September 20th. And the third module will be on December 16th. We are releasing it in modules because there's a lot of information. We won't want to overburden anybody, but we encourage you to attend all 3 of those meetings. There may be some supplemental meetings in between those larger meetings, but there will be, we hope will be robust discussion because many cities don't update rewrites updates of their zoning codes for long periods of time. So we're hoping that this is something that can grow the city, and it will speak to all of the interest of residents here in the city. Okay, if there are no,
I have one more question. I do. This is a follow-up from the previous question. You talked about a decision that you made that the appeals board said it wasn't arbitrary, that they upheld your decision. Can you give the standard of review for appeals?
whether or not the decision was arbitrary and or capricious.
Okay, so they don't get into whether or not the decision was, I guess, right or wrong. It's just arbitrary or capricious.
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay, no other questions? Let's talk about homework and how we're going to do homework, because the last session is the bus trip. Is that right, Sam?
It's the lab.
It's the lab, right? And we're doing, okay. So let's talk about how we're going to do. Why can I not find what I'm looking for? So if you, well, you all attended the zoning fundamentals 1, and I gave an address for you all to start looking into and just kind of familiarizing yourself with that particular piece of property and the adjacent properties. If you see this list of properties on my screen, these are the list of properties for your development area. They are all in what is called or the Murphy Triangle area, and the property is currently zoned I-1 light industrial. I want you all to consider rezoning this property to allow a mixed-use development, whether that development be MRC, which is mixed residential commercial, or that development be IMIX, which is industrial mixed use. In addition to that, your application should consider a height variance to 400 feet. The way that we will do the deliverables is that you provide a written statement that details how this request is or is not compatible with the land use in that area or any small area plan that's been produced by the Sylvan Hills neighborhood or by NPUX or the comprehensive development plan. That deliverable will be due, Sam, what's the lab date?
July 9th.
Okay, so that deliverable is, that date is July 9th. And so those will be due June 26th. You can send those to Samantha by 5 p.m. And then when we do the lab, which I think we're going to have to reschedule because that is night of one of my zoning ordinance workshops. We will discuss them. Can we do we'll talk about it offline. Mr. Ross.
What did you say the current zoning for the property is?
It is light industrial.
Light industrial.
Light industrial. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on the homework before?
Can we get this into us via email, or we have to
Sure,
take a snapshot of this?
Sure, well, I will send you all the information. This is presentation. Anybody have any questions on the homework before we conclude? Mr. Ross.
Can we call you if we have questions, further questions?
Yes, sir, you can. You can also work together in groups if you'd like, or you can do this individually on your own.
Okay.
Ms. Brooks?
I'm just wondering, where do I start looking at this to see how to how to ask for a rezoning? Like, where do we start?
So the mixed residential commercial district is chapter 34. And industrial mixed use is chapter 16. (16A). You should read both of those districts first and then decide which district you think is best for your rezoning. And remember, the request is to allow mixed use, which is combination of residential, non-residential, and also a height variance to 400 feet, meaning the buildings would be 400 feet tall. That's you good, Ms. Brooks?
Yes, I mean, do I have it? Would it be important for me to locate these addresses and parcels?
Yes, ma'am, it would be.
So I would use the GIS for that?
You would use the GIS for that because you want to, your recommendation will affect the properties that are around it. And it is pretty much in the center of the Sylvan Hills neighborhood. So you would need to consider the effect of your development on those adjacent properties in that neighborhood, which is why I mentioned the Sylvan Hills plan. I think there's a Fort McPherson plan that includes Sylvan Hills. There's several plans that talk about this particular piece of property, lots of recommendations from NPUX. And you can find all the adopted plans and studies on our website as well. And I'll send that link to Sam with all the other documents. Anybody else got questions?
Okay, going once, going twice. That's it.
I've never had a class this quiet.
I think you've given them a lot of information to sit and think about. Thank you so much, Kieta, again, for hosting and working with us for this course. Again, it's one of our more popular ones, and I'm looking forward to the lab and, of course, the mobile workshop, which I will give more details as we get closer to that date and time for that course. As you all can see on your screen, wait, can you all see it?
I can see it.
Okay.
Yes.
So here are our upcoming courses and events. Our next course would be the legislative process, which is Thursday, May 30th. The course that I really want to push for you all, if you know of a young leader, a rising junior or senior in high school that is in your community or neighborhood that wants to be civically engaged, but they don't know how, or they have a little itch that needs to be scratched, please have them sign up for our Civic Responsibility for Young Leaders course. It's a 1-week course, Monday through Friday, June 3rd through the 7th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. We have a few slots left, and I would love to have some participants, especially from that you may recommend. Also, the rest of the courses you can see here, I want to leave that up for a couple of minutes, but also these courses can be found on npuatlanta.org. The registration is open for all of them. And also there was a link, I'm sorry, in the chat for our evaluation of this course. Please just take a couple of minutes, 3 at max, so that Kieta can receive any and all feedback that you have on her instruction for tonight. We always want to improve and grow with NP University. So please take just a couple of minutes to fill that out. Thank you so much for participating tonight. If you want to know anything and everything about NPUs, NPU University, please follow us on social media. Our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok handle is at NPU Atlanta. And then on Nextdoor, City of Atlanta Neighborhood Planning Units, and on YouTube, NPU Atlanta. And from my understanding, there is a question in the chat. What is Love Thy Neighbors about? Okay, so that is the second phase of the celebration of our 50th celebration of neighborhood planning units in Maynard Jackson. The airport ride is what's happening on this Friday. So we will actually start at College Park train station, go to the airport, come back to the train station, and then end at Maynard Jackson High School. And that starts at 9 a.m. on Friday for anyone that is interested in participating. We're partnering with ATL DOT to actually put this event on. Yes. Any more questions? Everyone check your emails. There will be the directions for the homework as well as a copy of the presentation that Kieta did tonight. And in the presentation, you will also have those addresses that you would need, okay? And Nade just put in the chat again, the link for the survey. I'll leave it up for 2 seconds. Click on it real quick, knock it out. Thank you so much. And you all have a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday. Good night, y'all.
Sam, can you stay on?
I can.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Have a good
Thank
evening,
you, Kia.
everyone.